to Congressman Rich McCormick of Georgia.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would like to point out that we in Congress have a job to do. This is an incredibly important topic, and I think out of respect for those people who are interested in this topic, the people who want to be disruptive should be gavelled out and removed from this hearing. I think anybody who's earned this place, whether you be in Congress or be a military member or be somebody from Pakistan or be somebody who's interested in this topic, should be respected, and those people who break the rules should be removed from and not be allowed back in future, because this continues to waste our time. And with that, I'm going to move, with your permission, Chair, to have these people removed before I continue.
So ordered.
Thank you. All three that were speaking out, thank you. They're wearing red in case you can't figure out who they are.
I did not say anything. I said now one word. This is very undemocratic. But I will say free Imran Khan. Free Imran Khan. The first democratically elected Prime Minister of Pakistan. He will save Pakistan.
The committee will suspend while the Capitol Police restore order.
Free Imran Khan. Free Imran Khan. Free Imran Khan, a great democratic leader in Pakistan. We need Imran Khan. Free him from a death cell in Pakistan.
And Congressman McCormick will now continue with his full 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I've been interrupted in the previous hearings, and I just want to make sure we have some order. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate you, and I thank you, Secretary Liu, for your testimony today. Today's topic is very important to me. Whether we like it or not, the U.S. future cannot include isolationism from the rest of the world. American leadership will be required for our country's future success and to ensure America remains first in the world. We must remain robust partnerships and alliances with nations that share our interests and values. As nations like China and Russia and violent extremist organizations threaten global stability, it is critical for U.S. interests for South Central Asia countries such as Pakistan and India to continue developing stable and transparent democracies. That's why I introduced House Resolution 901 with my esteemed colleague from Michigan, Representative Dan Kildee. The resolution affirms U.S. support for democracy and human rights in Pakistan. I'm looking forward to H.Res. 901's consideration later this afternoon as the House Foreign Affairs Committee marks it up. As I am sure you're aware, Pakistan recently conducted the largest election in its history, but these were unfortunately marred by allegations of fraudulent activity and electoral violence. Watchdog groups raised the alarm over reports of political repression, suspension of interest access on election day, delays in election results, and more. Currently, the Election Commission of Pakistan is reviewing many of the election results in individual parliamentary constituencies, and the Pakistani judicial system is investigating and adjudicating irregularities. In fact, the ambassador from Pakistan came to my office yesterday and talked about what they were going to try to do to mitigate these problems. With all this being said, there must be full, credible, and independent audit of these election results. Secretary Liu, do you think and the State Department have confidence in Pakistan's judicial process and its ability to adjudicate claims of wrongdoing?
Thank you, Representative McCormick. If I might, just before I answer that question, just say a word about protests. We have just tremendous respect for the Pakistani American community. We pride ourselves in the State Department and in my office about talking to Pakistani Americans, because they are the people in our vast country who care the most about this relationship. They have something genuine to offer because of their deep knowledge and the deep concern they have of the future of the country. And so I want to join the voices of this committee to say how important their involvement is, how much we respect them. We try to listen to them at every opportunity. I hope they are also listening to all of you and to those of us who are trying to guide this policy.
Absolutely, and I will say, respectful conversation is always paramount for me. I've met with constituencies. I have people who've come here from all over the United States that I've met with in my own district on this topic. There is a time and a place for everyone to speak, and that's order. That's something that we worked hard for.
One of the things that I have faced over these last 2 years is some of these allegations, unfounded allegations, have resulted in regular death threats against me, threats against my family, involvement of local police. There is a line of acceptability, and I do think at times some of the free speech has verged into threats of violence, which is not acceptable in our society. Sir, if I could answer your important question. The Election Commission of Pakistan, in past elections, has rerun elections where there have been a finding of electoral abuse. We have seen that over and over. In fact, in this election, they have already ordered the rerun of elections where there has been violence. As we know, there have been candidates who've been killed in this election. There have been some terrible violence that preceded the election. We call on the Election Commission to fulfill its constitutional role in Pakistan, to be the watchdog over these elections and to act in a nonpartisan way. We all will be watching this process very, very closely. As to whether they will do it, it's up to the Pakistani people to make sure their institutions are functional and that are upholding their constitution.
Thank you. And do you think that the Pakistani government has the ability to continue to improve and be accountable and be a good partner going forward as the United States needs them to be in that region?
Pakistan is such an important partner of ours. They are a major non-NATO ally. We have deep national security interests with Pakistan, not least of which is the fight against terrorism, not only terrorism that affects Pakistanis, but terrorism that affects Americans. And Pakistan has been a partner in our resettling of Afghan refugees to whom we owe a debt. And we are grateful to the people and the government of Pakistan for that cooperation.
Thank you, sir. I yield.
Thank you very much, Dr. Congressman Rich McCormick of Georgia. We now proceed to Congresswoman Kathy Manning of North Carolina.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Welcome back to my good friend Dean Phillips, and thank you, Assistant Secretary Liu, for your service to our country. I want to focus on the plight of women in Pakistan for a few minutes. I am very concerned about the treatment of women in Pakistan, including female journalists and women harassed and arrested at protests and rallies leading up to the election. As you know, Pakistan is routinely rated near the bottom of the world in terms of women's inclusion, justice, safety, and security. So can you talk to us about how the State Department is working to address gender-based violence and highlight and improve the safety, the rights, the inclusion, and representation of women in Pakistan's democracy?
Representative Manning, such an important question. I wish I had my wife here sitting next to me. I met my wife in Pakistan. She was an American refugee worker working with Afghans, but her academic subject matter of specialty is gender-based violence, and she has worked in Pakistan on this very issue. What I would say about Pakistan, its human rights, the rights of women, I say about many countries, but I really mean it, which is we as foreign partners aren't going to be able to change Pakistan. Who will change Pakistan? Pakistani people will. And we see that very strong desire of women across Pakistan to be heard, to be represented, and to have their rights respected by the institutions of government as well as by the rest of society. I see great victories in Pakistan every day. There have, as I mentioned, double the number of women elected to this parliament.
And do you see that as a positive moment that will actually give hope and perhaps achieve new things for women in Pakistan?
I see the emergence of female leaders in Pakistan at every level as being the examples that will lead their society forward. You are entirely right. At the village level in Pakistan, lives for women are incredibly difficult. I see more women today in senior positions in business. I see them on the high court. I see them in parliament. I see them as ministers. Honestly, some days Pakistanis are doing better than Americans on some of these questions. It is a struggle for all of us, but I do credit the very brave women and young girls who are leading this path in Pakistan. And I think as foreign partners, we need to put our resources, our public statements, and our activism behind Pakistani female leaders.
And can you give us some idea of the percentage of participation of Pakistani women in the economy? And are there hurdles to greater participation, and is there anything we can do to encourage greater participation?
Well, one of the real issues for every business in Pakistan, but particularly for women-owned businesses, is access to financing. And so one of the things that I've seen over the course of my career, and particularly in Pakistan, is the emergence of these microfinance projects, because largely women-owned businesses are not the massive textile mills or the steel plants. They're small businesses. They're businesses run out of homes or small shops in local communities. If women have access to that financing, women will succeed in business. USAID, the EU, the United Kingdom, Japan, Australia, many of Pakistan's donor friends are investing in those types of businesses, while the PRC and other countries are investing in literally roads to nowhere that bleed the Pakistani people of their resources year after year.
So we've certainly talked about giving women access to more financial opportunities in this committee. I hope we will continue to do that in the future. Because you've mentioned China, let me walk into this question with the little time I have left. Pakistan faces a grave challenge, has faced grave challenges in recent years from flooding, from indebtedness to creditors like China. What more can we do to counterbalance what China is doing and the debt that they're helping create in Pakistan?
We can compete. Where we fail overseas, we are not present. Where we compete, we always win because we have a better offer. We offer private sector-led investment for profit-making enterprises that benefit local people and not just the lender countries.
Thank you. My time has expired. I yield back.
Thank you very much, Congresswoman Kathy Manning of North Carolina. We'll be proceeding to Congressman Mike Lawler in 1 second. And, even before, I want to thank you for pointing out the different allies working with Pakistan, and one that you left out, which is so significant, and that is South Korea. To go from ashes 60 years ago to be one of the wealthiest countries on earth is an example throughout the Indo-Pacific and the South Asia of achieving a per capita income of $44,000 for each citizen. Who would ever imagine? And I know that Korea has been vitally interested in developing economic ties with the people of Pakistan. With that, we now proceed to Congressman Mike Lawler.
Thank you, Mr. Liu. I know many of my colleagues touched on the election irregularities and some of the concerns about it, so I want to segue a little bit. Just a few weeks ago, the government of Pakistan approved plans to begin construction on a pipeline to transport natural gas from Iran to Pakistan. Iran constructed its side of the pipeline years ago, and now Pakistan has finally decided to move forward. Mr. Liu, do you view this pipeline as Pakistan aligning itself with Iran?
I mean, it's a really interesting question, Representative Lawler, because Pakistan and Iran just traded missile and drone strikes a few weeks ago. So it has been true over time that Pakistan and Iran have had ups and downs in their relationship. They're at a pretty low point today. We are tracking this planned pipeline between Iran and Pakistan. Honestly, I don't know where the financing for such a project would come from. I don't think many international donors would be interested in funding such an endeavor. We've also not heard from the government of Pakistan a desire for a waiver of American sanctions that would certainly result from such a project. Instead, what we are undertaking in the administration is to have a conversation with Pakistan. What are Pakistan's other alternatives? How can we compete for that business? Where can they find other non-Iranian sources of natural gas? And how can we help Pakistan think about the transition to clean energy? Pakistan's very interested in providing energy through solar, through wind, through hydro. How can that begin to replace their dependence on coal and other hydrocarbons?
Okay. So have you expressed direct concern with the Pakistani government on this issue?
We are in consultation with the Pakistani government on this issue, yes, sir.
Okay. I mean, my concern is that Iran is the greatest state sponsor of terror. They use the illicit Iranian petroleum oil trade to finance terrorism. Since Joe Biden took office, nearly $88 billion in increased revenue has resulted because of lax enforcement on sanctions. It's why I introduced the SHIP Act to increase secondary sanctions on the purchase of Iranian petroleum. It passed through the House overwhelmingly with bipartisan support and has since stalled in the Senate because the White House doesn't want it. So from my vantage point, when we talk about other alternatives that Pakistan may be able to engage on, why don't we start by cracking down on the illicit oil trade? Why is the administration taking a very lax approach to cracking down on Iranian petroleum?
Sir, the administration will uphold both the letter and the spirit of all sanction laws, particularly those related to Iran.
Do you think an increase of $88 billion in revenue is upholding the letter and spirit of the law?
Sir, I am not an expert in Iranian energy exports, but what I know as a person who has a car that's fueled by gasoline is all of us have paid for higher gasoline after Putin's full-scale invasion of Ukraine. And
well, that's also a result in this country of us limiting production of oil and natural gas in this country. That's why we're dealing with our own energy challenges.
Sir, if
but
I
across
could,
the globe,
if I could answer your question,
well, you went in a total non sequitur.
I fully
sure.
support the efforts by the U.S. government to prevent this pipeline from happening. We are working towards that goal, sir.
Okay. How does the administration view Pakistan's relationship with the Taliban?
With suspicion, sir.
And so what are we doing based on that suspicion?
So I think it is well known that previous governments of Pakistan have had close relations with the Taliban. Currently, the greatest terrorist threat faced by the people of Pakistan emanates from Afghanistan. And the relationship between Pakistan and the Taliban is about the same as the relationship between the United States and the Taliban. It is very strained and difficult. We have a very important dialogue with the Pakistani government about the Taliban, how to help shape its behavior, how to help make sure the Taliban upholds its commitments.
Last question, why was Pakistan excluded from the administration's Indo-Pacific strategy?
Sir, it's a way that we define the Indo-Pacific, and it's not only this administration, it's the last administration as well. For whatever reason, I suspect it has to do with COCOM authority between the Indo-Pacific Command and Central Command. The dividing line of the Indo-Pacific is the line between Pakistan and India.
Well, time is up. Got to cut you off, Mr. Liu. There's a new sheriff in town. It's me.
I recognize the sheriff's authority.
Brad Sherman from California, you're recognized, sir.
We have substantial leverage in Pakistan in two ways. First, the IMF, where we have a loud voice and we should use it more often. And second, we could deny visas to high-ranking Pakistani officials. We need to focus on human rights in Pakistan. I'm particularly focused on Sindh and the disappearances there, the forced conversions, young girls forced to convert and then marry old men. And we've seen throughout Pakistan a blasphemy law that allows a person to complain, and all of a sudden someone who's not Muslim usually is subject to detention and even execution. But the greatest problem is Dr. Afridi. That is something we discussed in this room last decade again and again. He's in jail for 14 years. We released Victor Aboud to get an American back. And the message to everyone in the world, and this is a national security risk, is don't cooperate with the CIA. Because if you're an American national, we'll move heaven and earth to get you out. But if you're the one foreign national who did the most for America of anyone this century, you will rot in jail. The Pakistanis have said that they will do a Siddiqui for Afridi trade. Ms. Siddiqui didn't kill any Americans, tried to, ought to be in jail, is now perhaps incapacitated anyway. Will we trade Siddiqui for Afridi? And if not, will we ban from entry into this country those who are holding her hostage, Dr. Afridi hostage? Or do we just turn our back on any foreign national? The man who is responsible for getting bin Laden is in a Pakistani jail. Mr.
Representative
Secretary?
Sherman, I first want to thank you personally, but also thank this committee and the Congress.
Sir, I have
for
one,
its
I will yield 10
advocacy.
seconds to say Siddiqui for Afridi, yes or no?
Mr. Sherman, I have been in this job for more than 2.5 years. I have never had a Pakistani official raise with me.
They've told me, they've told your predecessor, they've told the State Department, Afridi's in jail, you haven't done anything about it, and he's the man that helped us get bin Laden. But let's move on.
Sir, if I
I've got
could
it,
just,
sir, I only get 5 minutes.
Go ahead.
We have the exit control list where hundreds of American citizens are prohibited from leaving Pakistan. Will we treat them the same way we deal with everyone else who's wrongfully detained in Russia and elsewhere? What are we doing to get American citizens who have not been even charged with a crime out of Pakistan if they want to leave?
Representative Sherman, we work every day on behalf of American citizens in Pakistan. As you note, there are some laws that have put undue restrictions on Americans. We have had a very positive
But
track record.
hundreds are still there, and the IMF loan goes forward, and we allow the top generals in Pakistan to visit the United States when American citizens can't leave Pakistan and come to the United States. We then have the vote tabulation system, and they have banned the bat, the symbol of the PTI. Then they banned the batsman. And this is, there have been flaws in other Pakistani elections, but this is perhaps the greatest flaw. And we're told, and the Pakistani ambassadors told me, well, this is just the ordinary working of the Pakistani judicial system. That's the same judicial system that has Dr. Afridi in jail for 14 years for getting bin Laden. Do we have faith that Imran Khan has not been the victim of selective prosecution? Or is it apparent that he has been?
So, following the rioting on May 9th, the day Imran Khan was arrested, the United States government has raised our concerns about the mass detention of members of the opposition, to include the PTI. We have raised concerns about the use of military courts.
If I can interrupt, there's one thing you need to do. The American ambassador needs to visit Imran Khan in prison and make sure that he lives to tell the tale of how he was wrongfully imprisoned through selective prosecution. I yield back.
Thank you, Mr. Sherman. Excellent questions. Representative Baird is not here, so I'm the next in line. Secretary Lew, could you provide insight in the involvement of the military in the politics of Pakistan? Hold on. Y'all don't need to clap for me. I'm good. I'm good. We're good. Thank y'all. Go ahead, brother.
The Pakistani military is the 6th largest military in the world, and the largest of any majority Muslim country. The U.S. military has historically had very close relations with the Pakistani military. Our generals and their generals have trained together decade after decade. It is an important part of Pakistani culture. I have lived in Pakistan. I have seen that for myself. The Pakistani military is an important institution. We respect, in this administration and all past American administrations, the constitutional principle that the Pakistani military must be kept under civilian control. It must be answerable to the president.
But is it?
answerable to the President, sir, who is the Commander-in-Chief and responsible to civilian control.
Okay. Do y'all at the State Department intend to conduct a review of the most recent elections in Pakistan?
Sir, we have conducted that review, and we have found a number of election irregularities that I've detailed today.
Right.
What we are undertaking right now is a monitoring of how the democratic institutions of Pakistan will address those irregularities. And
I would suggest to you that a strong letter is not doing a whole heck of a lot. I would tell you that this country needs to start using its economic might to correct some of these wrongs. These people are being mistreated. I'm not much on bureaucrats. I don't like writing letters. I like delivering it personally, and I think that's something we could do. Did the U.S. ask for former Prime Minister Imran Khan's removal after he visited Russia?
that we did not, sir.
Okay. There are people who believe you were involved in the regime change in Pakistan. Can you speak on that?
Sir, I was absolutely not involved, nor were any Americans involved with that process.
None whatsoever.
None whatsoever, sir.
Not contractors, not.
None. Not one.
Okay. In aid to Pakistan being withheld, is aid to Pakistan being withheld because Pakistan refused to vote against the Russian invasion of Ukraine at the United Nations General Assembly?
No, sir.
All right. I have a little more time left. Do I have any members?
हर बड़े पैक पर 10 से 30
हाँ, पैक तो पेप्सी ने की है। सबसे स्ट्रॉन्ग ऑफर।
अब समझ आया।
कनौर चटपटा 30 रुपए का। कनौर लाया सिर्फ 30 रुपए में यमी चटपटा नूडल्स। तो अब आप करें 30 रुपए में टिफिन चट और बिल्लों को रखें भूखा। होगा 30 का, मुझे क्या?
मेरे शौहर अब्रॉड होते हैं ना, मगर मैं अकेली नहीं, क्योंकि हमारे साथ है MCB बर्क रफ्तार। ये मिनटों में पैसे पहुंचाए जब भी मैं चाहूँ। MCB बर्क रफ्तार, फौरन से फौरी।
MCB बैंक फॉर लाइफ।
मुन्नी का आज पहला रोजा है।
वो रहीम वो है मेहरबान, है वही सबका निगहबान, उसी का ही तो है ये फजलो करम, बनाया जो उसने निगहबान।
वज़ीर आला पंजाब मरियम नवाज शरीफ की जानिब से कम आमदनी वाले 66 लाख खानदानों के लिए 30 अरब के निगहबान रमजान राशन का तोहफा। पाकिस्तान की 77 साल तारीख में पहली बार उनकी दहलीज पर इज्जत व वकार के साथ, ताकि हर घर में सजे खुशियों और बरकतों का दस्तरखान। निगहबान रमजान पैकेज, आपका हक आपकी दहलीज पर।
इस प्रोग्राम के लिए हमारे साथ ताउन किया है
अरे वाह, सबने माना, हर पिक ने किया एसिड का सफाया।
सबकी दुआ हर घर भर जाए।
लिप्टन जार ऑफ जॉय।
एंडस अस्पताल से बढ़कर अपनी ज़कात दीजिए, पहले से बढ़कर।
एक कप और टपाल दानेदार, तुम में एक और कप चाय।
क्योंकि दिल के इत्मीनान के साथ इस्लामिक बैंकिंग है सबके लिए।
दीगर इश्तराक में शामिल हैं
स्कूल एज चैलेंज के साथ बढ़ने में मदद करती रहेंगी। नीडो न्यूट्रिशन टू ग्रो।
न्यू ओमोर कुकी मेनिया कॉर्न, वाव भरा बाइट।
कैंसर से लड़ते बच्चों की जिंदगी का सवाल है।
ज़कात व अतियात किसी भी करीबी बैंक में जमा करवाएं।
ज़कात और अतियात के लिए 111-174-174।
इस रमजान को और सिंपल बनाएं विद इस्लाम वर्ल्ड।
सेफगार्ड की जबरदस्त हिफाजत अब जबरदस्त कीमत में।
आप भी ज़कात व एहतियात देकर शामिल हो जाएं मासूम दुआओं में।
माहौल को साजगार बनाएं, चाहे वो हमारा सियासी माहौल है, चार्टर ऑफ इकोनॉमी, उसके साथ साथ हमें यकजहती का भी चार्टर पेश करना चाहिए।
जब तक मेरा कायद, मेरा लीडर और सबसे बड़ी पार्टी का पानी चेयरमैन मेरा लीडर इमरान खान साहब, वज़ीर आज़म इमरान खान जेल में कोई नहीं करता।
अस्सलामुअलैकुम, मैं हूं अफसा कोमल। आज की अहम खबरों में शामिल है 8 फरवरी के आम इंतखाबात के हवाले से मुबैना धांधली की तहकीकात के लिए बानी PTI ने सुप्रीम कोर्ट से रुजू कर लिया है। अदालत उज़्मा में उन्होंने एक दरख्वास्त दायर की है जिसमें ये उनकी तरफ से इस्तदा की गई है कि सुप्रीम कोर्ट के गैर जानिबदार हाजिर सर्विस जजेस के ऊपर मुश्तमिल एक जुडिशल कमीशन तश्कील दिया जाए और ये अदालती कमीशन आम इंतखाबात और उसके नताइज के हवाले से गैर जानिबदाराना का लफ्ज़ ही दोबारा इस्तेमाल हुआ है, गैर जानिबदाराना किस्म की तहकीकात करे। PTI की तरफ से ये जो इसके अंदर जो दरख्वास्त की गई है कि गैर जानिबदार और हाजिर सर्विस जजेस हों, ये ऐसे वक्त के ऊपर ये बात उनकी तरफ से की जा रही है जब इस्लामाबाद की ज़िले अदालत की तरफ से बानी PTI को रिलीफ और बरियत मिली है। आज साइफर केस में इस्लामाबाद हाई कोर्ट की तरफ से सख्त सवालात उठाए जा रहे हैं और सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने 9 मई के केसेस की समाअत के दौरान न सिर्फ पुलिस की सरजनिश की बल्कि PTI के कारकुनों को जमानत पर रिहाई का हुक्म भी आज ही के दिन दिया है। हम ये प्रोग्राम में डिस्कस करेंगे कि क्या मुराद है हाजिर सर्विस हों और गैर जानिबदार हों, इससे क्या मुराद है PTI की इस दरख्वास्त में। इसके अलावा आज एक ऐसे मौके पर ये दरख्वास्त उनकी तरफ से दी गई, एक आज के दिन और इसकी टाइमिंग के लिहाज से एक और भी अहमियत है और वो ये है कि अमरीकी ऐवान नुमाइंदगान की ज़ेली कमेटी पाकिस्तान के आम इंतखाबात से मुतालिक एक अहम तरीन समाअत इस वक्त कर रही है जब हम और आप बात कर रहे हैं और इसमें साइफर के मामले से पाकिस्तान भर में भी शोहरत पाने वाली एक शख्सियत है, अमरीकी शख्सियत, अमरीकी अंडर सेक्रेटरी ऑफ स्टेट हैं वो डोनाल्ड लू। उनको बतौर गवाह बुलाया गया है जो अपना बयान इस वक्त दे रहे हैं, कांग्रेसमैन के सवालात के जवाबात दे रहे हैं और इलेक्शन से जुड़े तनाज़ात के हवाले से जो है इसके अंदर बातचीत हो रही है। कमोबेश अब तक जो उन्होंने गुफ्तगू की, जो उनका रिटन स्टेटमेंट था, उसी से मुताबिकत रखती है उनकी गुफ्तगू। हम प्रोग्राम में बात करेंगे। PTI समझती है कि उनके मौक़िफ़ की जीत है इस फोरम के ऊपर इलेक्शंस की शफाफियत के हवाले से बात होना। इसके अलावा हम डिस्कस करेंगे जो हुकूमती इत्तेहाद है उनके हवाले से जो उनके लिए चैलेंजेस नज़र आ रहे हैं। एक वज़ीर आज़म शहबाज शरीफ साहब की तरफ से जो है वो एक यूनिटी के हवाले से मीसाके यकजहती की पेशकश की गई है, लेकिन दूसरी तरफ क्योंकि अब ये यकजहती की जब बात हो, मुफाहमत की हो, तो PTI के हवाले से बात की जाती है। तो आप बयान तो सुन चुके हैं उमर अयूब साहब का। उन्होंने कहा जब तक हमारा लीडर जेल में है किसी किस्म की कोई जो है वो मुज़ाकरात और बातचीत नहीं होंगे। अब हुकूमती इत्तेहादियों की मैं बात करने जा रही हूँ। पीपल्स पार्टी जो है वो तनकीद कर रही है, एक तो इत्तेहाद तो अपना कायम रखे हुए हैं लेकिन बहुत से मामलात के ऊपर मुखालफत कर रही है। IMF के साथ तय होने वाली शराइत हो, एयर चीफ की एक्सटेंशन हो, इनके हवाले से खुलकर पीपल्स पार्टी ने मुखालफत में बयानात दिए हैं। लेकिन जवाब में कल खुर्रम दस्तगीर साहब हमारे प्रोग्राम में मौजूद थे, उन्होंने भी एक मशवरा दिया है पीपल्स पार्टी को और कहते हैं कि ये इन अदर वर्ड्स उन्होंने कहा ये दौरा मेयार है पीपल्स पार्टी का, इख्तलाफ को बंद कमरों तक महदूद रखें, ये मशवरा उन्होंने दिया है। इन तमाम इशूज़ के ऊपर हम बात करेंगे। पीपल्स पार्टी के हवाले से बिलखुसूस कि क्या ये दोहरी पॉलिसी है जिस किस्म की तनकीद वो कर रहे हैं। और मेरे साथ इस्लामाबाद स्टूडियो में तशरीफ़ फरमाए राना एहसान साहब, मुस्लिम लीग नून के रहनुमा, ज़ैन हुसैन कुरैशी साहब हमें ज्वाइन कर रहे हैं, पाकिस्तान तहरीक इंसाफ के रहनुमा। बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया आप दोनों का। प्रोग्राम में पीपल्स पार्टी की नुमाइंदगी भी शामिल होगी। ज़ैन कुरैशी साहब, मैं आपसे आगाज़ करना चाहूँगी। इस वक्त अमरीकी कांग्रेस में वो समाअत जारी है जिसके ऊपर आप लोग भी गहरी नजरें लगाए बैठे थे और हम लोग भी इस समाअत का इंतजार कर रहे थे। कमोबेश वही बातें डोनाल्ड लू ने की हैं। इंतखाबी जो मुबैना आप लोग शफाफियत के हवाले से जो सवालात और इल्ज़ामात आप लोग लगाते हैं उसके हवाले से जो रिटन स्टेटमेंट में डोनाल्ड लू ने बातें की हैं, इसमें एक बात का इजहार एक बार फिर उन्होंने वर्बली कर दिया कि पाकिस्तान में